What's up? Today, I'd like to turn your focus to some interesting comparisons between Nod-Krai, the upcoming Genshin area in 6.0, and Crossbell, a lore-heavy area spanning 2 games in the Trails universe. Some disclaimers beforehand, this video will mainly cover information from what we know about Nod-Krai from the webpage Song of the Welkin Moon, comparing their factions to the parties in Crossbell. This video will not cover a very in-depth analysis of Nod-Krai lore so far. There are other videos for that. As for Crossbell, there will obviously be spoilers as we cover the various factions, so I will assume that if you are watching this to the end, you have either played or have in-depth knowledge of the games featuring Zero and Azure, or you simply do not care. You have been warned. This video was inspired by a comment made by one of the devs in the behind-the-scenes Nod-Krai video posted by the official Genshin team. I'll link it in the description below. In that comment, the dev said that Nod-Krai was inspired by various areas that have conflicts of interest by various parties, one of them obviously being Crossbell. Seeing how Crossbell has played an integral part in the Trails universe, I thought it'd be cool to highlight some similarities between the factions in both games. And by the end of this video, I hope that you can share my vision and excitement of what this means for my expectations of Nod-Krai as a die-hard Trails fan. Now let's start with a simple introduction of what Nod-Krai is. Nod-Krai is a mysterious area that is described as located at the edge of Teyvat, with powers that predate the 7 elements seen and used in Teyvat. As of now, aside from tidbits of Nod-Krai info in the official game from story to events, the main teaser from Nod-Krai comes from the webpage Song of the Welkin Moon. It involves lore involving the 3 primordial moons, as well as how Nod-Krai looks like area-wise, which looks really beautiful. But the main seller is the various factions listed that will show up in Nod-Krai. These factions are what we will be comparing to the area of Crossbell. Crossbell, in the games of Zero and Azure, is an autonomous state stuck between the superpowers of Erebonia and Calvert. Crossbell is an area that involves many parties of interests, some fighting to protect its identity, some using the state as a politically advantageous area, and some using it for its unique history involving alchemy and cults to further their own plans. As this video is not meant to be lengthy, I'll keep the introductions of the factions very brief and how similar they are. Obviously, not every faction is meant to mirror the other, there will be outliers. We'll start with the factions that are super obvious, and the ones with little or without comparison will be noted later at the end. First, the Fatui. The Fatui is infamous for being recurring antagonists that the traveler must constantly engage with, oftentimes for different reasons. When someone brings up recurring antagonists in the Trails universe, most would agree that it would be the Society of Ouroboros, an organization that the main cast of various Trails games encounter and fight against time and time again. The similarities lie in the Fatui Harbingers versus the Enforcers and Anguis of Ouroboros, that their positions in the organization are dictated by a certain number and are oftentimes powerful foes of our protagonists. Next would be the Frostmoon Scions, an ancient faction who found new life among nature and never forsook their faith in the moon goddess. When hearing faith and goddess, we are reminded of the church faction in the Trails universe, specifically the Gralsritter, who play a different role in that their elite members have different missions, like recovering artifacts or hunting heretics. The Frostmoon Scions seems much more druid-like, and more tied to the land of Nod-Krai, rather than church, which has more widespread influence and a rich history in the continent of Zemuria. The next faction will be the Lightkeepers, an ancient organization that has long defended Nod-Krai's freedom from the Abyss. When we think of defenders of Crossbell, we think of factions such as the SS, the CSPD, or the CGF. Given that the Lightkeepers have an ancient history, it's more accurate to say that the CSPD or CGF would be more fitting, given that they've been around long enough to protect Crossbell's peace from different countries and organizations. Another faction that a lot of people have been excited about would be the Knights of Favonius, with Varka and the Expeditionary Squad from Mondstadt expected to show up there as an ally to the Traveler. The comparison we could think of here would be the Bracer Guild, along with their S-rank Bracer stationed at Crossbell, Arios MacLane. Bracer Guild, similar to the Knights of Favonius, are old allies of ours, and while not directly involved with the Triple S's day-to-day life, the Bracers won't hesitate to lend us a hand with powerful friends. Next would be the Voynich Guild, which is a quote-unquote police force that enforces basic order, with a mention of the boss lady of the Curatorium of Secrets, striking fear to maintain discipline. This reminded me a lot of the local mafia faction in Crossbell, aka Revache, who uses might and fear to control the criminal activity that goes around Crossbell, creating an order that would otherwise go out of control if left unchecked. Revache is also one of the antagonists in Crossbell, but it seems unclear whether Voynich would be the same. Now we can mention the Snowland Fae, ancient Fae who had once followed the first Cryo Archon and said to influence the nation in their own ways. A somewhat great comparison would be the Triple S's beloved companion hound, Zeit. Zeit is the holy beast that resided in Crossbell for a very long time, tasked to watch the land's destiny unfold, even after the Septian of Mirage, Demiourgos' passing. Zeit has helped the Triple S understand their fight for Crossbell is bigger than they had expected, and whether the Fae will aid the Traveler in the same vein is yet to be seen. Alright, this one's a mouthful. The Clink-Clank Krumkake Craft Shop. I'm calling it cake, cause calling it as it is sounds really wrong. If you know, you know. With mentions of a famous workshop and a genius. The immediate comparison that I drew would be Joerg, the Mindster in Crossbell. Famous for his lifelike dolls and intricate inventions, Joerg's a cool old dude with an air of mystique around him, so I have high expectations for this one. The remaining factions I didn't mention would be the Hexenzirkel, the Wild Hunt, Treasure Hoarders, and the Adventurers Guild. Let's break it down. The most obvious one would be the Adventurers Guild, another familiar organization with an important figure that's expected to aid us in our exploration of Nod-Krai. I thought of this faction in more Arios than the Knights of Favonius, and I probably should have related the Bracer Guild with Estelle and Joshua instead. But I'm quite undecisive on this point, so let me know of your thoughts in the comments below. The Hexenzirkel are a circle of powerful witches, and has seen more relevance as Genshin's storyline progresses. As we are confined strictly to Crossbell lore, the concept of magic or witches are not relevant yet, and other than the church in Ouroboros, there doesn't seem to be any organization that acts as an almighty overseer of events for Crossbell. The Wild Hunt. Soulless armies of monsters from the abyss on the search for something. This one's a tough one. This faction is unique to Genshin in the sense that this is another recurring antagonist, and probably the major one that the Traveler must overcome. But for trails, aside from Jaegers, Ouroboros, and others, the only thing that comes to mind would be the demons appearing in Crossbell, and appeared in past games like Trails the Third, but does not hold as much story significance as the Abyss. Treasure Hoarders, a widespread organization which originated from Nod-Krai, with mentions of a legendary thief, Reed Miller, who supposedly left a great treasure. This reminded me of Bleublanc, the legendary phantom thief from Ouroboros, that likes to troll players in every game he appears in by sending them on wild goose chases to find random objects he considers beautiful. Although what significance the treasure hoarders have is also yet to be seen. For closing thoughts, I was really happy they mentioned Crossbell during the behind the scenes Nod-Krai video, because the storytelling and Crossbell arc in the Trails series are considered to be some of the best, and I couldn't agree more. As someone who has stuck with Genshin for a long time, I have been repeatedly impressed by the recent storytelling, whether it's Archon quests, world quests, or story quests. I have high expectations for Nod-Krai, and after seeing these comparisons, I'm just as excited as everyone else for this new area in Genshin. Of course, feel free to point out any cool things that I might have missed. This video was meant to be brief after all. Thanks for watching.